I've seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face and that affects so many areas of our life, from our community relations to our families to our business endeavors, to our politics, to our economy. Every aspect of our lives is touched by the character issue and the phenomenon of our time, which I call character disturbance. The fact that so many folks among us, unfortunately these days, learn far too late in life how to function responsibly, how to care enough about other people, how to be responsible enough in relationships that they hold together, that they're productive, that they're constructive. And I write about these things, and I've studied this phenomenon for over 30 years. I write about them in my books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People. Many regard that book as the definitive book on the subject of manipulation. And also my book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age. Character Disturbance is my more in-depth look at all the disturbing characters you're likely to encounter in your life and the havoc they're likely to wreak, and what you can do about it, how to recognize trouble, avoid it on the front end, deal with it more effectively, and above and beyond all else, what to look for in the way of helping services when you go looking for help. Because as many people have learned the hard way, when it comes to character disturbance, traditional methods of counseling do not work. Most people have found that out the hard way. And unfortunately, there are far too few folks properly trained in the methods that do work, which is one of the reasons why, in addition to my books, In Sheep's Clothing and Character Disturbance, I am out doing training workshops this year and next. A very busy schedule of training workshops for mental health professionals, but they are also open to the general public. And I've had many individuals, laypersons, come to the seminars and get many things out of it. So I really appreciate that. But so I write about these things. I blog about these things. In addition to my 2 books, In Sheep's Clothing and also Character Disturbance, my book for the Christian faith community, The Judas Syndrome, about why even good people do awful things and how genuine faith not just preached on the lips but actually lived out, can truly save a person from their baser selves and help them develop the kind of character that matters. And then lastly, my book with Kathy Armistead, How Did We End Up Here? The book for individuals who are either in the midst of or found themselves at the end of a problematic relationship and wondering how it happened and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. I have another book coming out with Kathy. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But those are my books. And then I also blog at manipulative-people.com. That's www.manipulative-people.com. Hundreds of timely and worthwhile articles on various topics related to the character crisis. Many articles on how to empower yourself in your dealings with character disturbed individuals. Then I also blog for the international blog Psychology, Philosophy, and Real Life. That's Psychology, Philosophy, and Real Life at www.counselingresource.com. That's counseling with 2 L's, resource.com. All those resources and articles on the topic of manipulators, other disturbed characters, other timely topics in psychology and mental health, especially articles that will help you understand the phenomenon of our age and get the proper help when you go looking for it. And then, of course, this program every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Every Sunday evening, I'm here to answer your questions, to talk about topics of the day, to expand upon some of the things that I write about. But most of all, I'd like to hear from you. If you have a question you want to ask, a story you'd like to share, perhaps you have been reading some of the articles, perhaps you've read one of my books, perhaps you've attended a workshop, whatever the case may be. If you want to join the conversation, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Happy to have you join the discussion and happy to take your call. Well, I've got quite a bit of vocal cord dysfunction going on tonight, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that, but every now and then this vocal cord dysfunction acts up, and it is tonight. So I hope you'll bear with me. I hope I can make it through the program without my voice giving out and without me being so hoarse that you cannot hear. So we'll do our best to get through the program without losing the voice, but I can tell it's going to be one of those nights. Well, it's been one of those weeks once again in the crazy world of politics. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. You hear a patriotic piece play at the beginning and the end of this program, a composition that both my wife and I put together back in 1999. I composed the music. She co-authored the lyrics. And we wanted to send a message. We wanted to send a personal, heart-tugging message about where America's greatness lies or has lied in the past. there have been times when we haven't been so great. Times, really, when we had every reason to hold our heads in shame. But there have been some shining moments, too. And when we're great, it's always due to one thing. It's not due to our military might, and it's not due to our economic clout or power. It has to do with the character of our people. People who embrace the noble ideals that we've long preached about but haven't always embraced ourselves. People who take seriously their responsibilities and do their part to make this a better place. That's what makes America great. De Tocqueville is reported to have said this, even though he didn't, but he was reported to have said that America is great because it is good, and when it stops being good, it will cease being great. Whether or not he actually said that, there's great wisdom in that quote from whoever it was. Perhaps de Tocqueville says something like that. But in any case, there's great truth there. We're great when we're good. And we're good collectively when we're good individually. And that takes a solid moral compass. And that takes character. That's what great societies are built upon. And so, once again, when I listened to our political debate this past week, in this sorry cast of characters, I couldn't help but feel a sense of real dread. It's a real sadness. I liken it to a mourning of sorts, because we've lost something. It's a real grieving process. To think that those that we are holding up, one in particular, as the model upon which we should try to emulate, and we should hand over the reins of power. That's the really scary thing. Hand over the reins of power to one of two rabid power seekers. It just boggles my mind. I've said many times on this program, I'll say it again, just so there's no mistake. I'm a rabid independent politically. No, that does not mean I'm a fence sitter. It means I understand that on both sides, on both extremes, there are deep flaws and biases, prejudices, misguided notions, bigotry even, on both extremes, on both sides of the political spectrum. Each side has something to offer, a grain of truth. But I'm not the first to say that the real truth always lies somewhere in the middle. So I'm an unapologetic, staunch independent. And I am so disheartened by what's before me. And I know the reality. I know this deeply. I've known it for a while. The reality is that no one really votes for character anymore because people have pretty much given up on that cause. We have become so desensitized and so used to. We're so used to nefarious characters in office that we don't expect anything different. We don't expect the truth. We certainly don't expect the whole truth from any of them. We don't expect them to be good role models. You know, I might get in trouble here because I disagree with a lot of the well-intended, I will say, well-intended actions that our current president has taken. And I might get in trouble here. I at least think I think the man is a decent man. I think he's been savagely trashed character-wise. I do think, like all politicians these days, it seems, that he has one of those egos that we're witnessing on steroids now with the other two candidates, and on double steroids with one in particular, whereby and this is the thing with haughtiness. This is the thing about ego inflation and narcissism. This is the thing about it. It's the steadfast refusal to acknowledge shortcoming and error, even when the evidence of error is all over the place. For example, as much as I think that there's decency in this man, our current president, this well-intended, and it was well-intended, I have no doubts about that, but this well-intended move to fix our healthcare system is an absolute unmitigated disaster. It's a disaster. And for a lot of reasons, a lot of very predictable reasons. So predictable, in fact, that anyone would have known, anyone with half a brain and with a modicum of knowledge would have known that it would be a disaster. Anyone would have known that. So the only alternative is to believe that we were sold the bill of goods. And it isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. We can't trust our leaders. This is a character issue. Today, in relationships, all too many spouses can't trust their spouse. Folks in relationships can't trust their relationship partners. Parents cannot trust their children. Why should it be any surprise that we cannot trust our elected officials? It's a sad, sad statement of our time. I'm going to be doing some workshops week after next in the New York area, once again, only this time in Albany, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut area, and White Plains, New York. I'll be doing that beginning a week from Wednesday. A week from this coming Wednesday will be my first workshop in Albany. And I'll be training counselors and social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists and other professionals in how to deal with this phenomenon of our time. How to help folks develop the kind of character that they need to function responsibly in their relationships, on the job, to help build back the moral fabric of our society. You see, it's an interactive thing. It's a vicious cycle. It's an interdependent kind of thing. As more and more and more folks in our country suffer from severe character disturbances, our social climate, our social milieu, our culture, our traditions, our values deteriorate. And as those things deteriorate, as those traditions, values, standards, as they deteriorate, we have more and more and more character disturbance. It's a true vicious cycle. And it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And it's going to have to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm convinced that it will get better because nature has a way of preventing us, when the chips are down, from going so far as to pose a genuine threat to our survival. And we are getting there. We're getting there very closely. It's a pretty sad statement, but it's truly happening. And so things will have to get a little worse, I think, before they get better. And then I pray that they will get better. And for my part, what I'll be doing is I'll be doing training to help professionals, help individuals, and help their troubled relationship partners build the kind of character they need to function more responsibly in their relationship. And I'll be writing some more, including a new book with Kathy Armistead, tentatively titled The 10 Commandments of Character, How to Lead a Significant Life. This is a book that I've been meaning to write for many years, and it talks about the essential life lessons that we not only have to learn, but master and embrace if we're going to function at our best in life and be our healthiest psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And so that book hopefully will be out at the end of the summer. I pray that it will. And as a preview of that book, on my blog at manipulative-people.com, I am writing some articles, a series that began a few weeks ago and continues now. And I've just written the second article in the series on commandment number 3, which has to do with cultivating and maintaining a balanced sense of self. Balanced sense of self-esteem, a balanced sense of self-worth. And one of the things I'll be talking about, or one of the things I have been talking about in the current article, has to do with some of the mistakes that we have been made, that some of the mistakes that not only individuals make in raising their children, but also mistakes that professionals have made for many, many years, giving people advice about how to instill the right kind of self-esteem in folks. We've been giving some pretty bad advice for years and years. And we've only started, the professional community has only started to realize how serious an error this was. So I'm blogging on that right now, and I'm going to be talking about that in the second half of the program here quite a bit. But if you want to join the conversation, if you have something you'd like to contribute, something you think our listeners would like to hear, or maybe just something you'd like to tell me personally, or maybe you have a question you want to ask, a situation you want to discuss, a situation that you're in that you'd like some advice about, give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. Well, you know, I'm apologizing again here, folks. My voice sounds like it's barely going to make it till the end of the program, so I really apologize for that. It's a really funny thing. It took me forever to figure this out, and for those of you who are skeptics of some of the more non-medical treatments or the some of the more holistic care type things or alternative medicine kinds of things, I have a story to share with you. I've had several spine surgeries, and the last one, the best was done, I think, on my cervical vertebrae to open up space for my spinal cord. It was too delicate to do what might have been done, so a kind of reverse clamp was installed that pulled the laminae apart of the vertebrae and gave some breathing space to my spinal cord. Well, that helped with a lot of symptoms, but it wasn't a fix. And way back when I started having trouble with my voice, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and I started making the rounds of specialists, I got 5 different opinions from 5 different specialists, all of whom were absolutely wrong about what they considered to be the diagnosis and how to treat it. And I'm very lucky, that I didn't suffer kidney or liver damage taking certain medicines prescribed for illnesses that I didn't have. And I've never been a big fan. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of instances that I had where I came to regard one discipline, a non-medical discipline, as kind of a farce. I'm going to be honest about that. I really thought that in large measure, some of the things advocated by chiropractic were just out of bounds. And yet some people swore by it. Well, it was kind of a last-ditch effort in a way. But I went to see a chiropractor because one of the things I discovered for myself is that when I got up in the morning and I didn't have neck strain, and I wasn't feeling the pressure that I typically do on the vertebrae that are of concern in my neck, my voice was good. But it didn't take long for it to start to deteriorate. So I went to see a chiropractor and discussed this, and the chiropractor said, well, we're not sure that we can do anything to help, but we will try some adjustments, and we will try some laser guided deep heat treatments and a few other things, and we'll see if we can help. Well, lo and behold, I got a voice back well enough to consider going back on speaking tour and to consider singing some and a few other things. So all of a sudden, I became a believer. Now, I don't believe in everything, but I do know that there's something to it. And interestingly enough, my wonderful surgeon, who did such a great job repairing me in several places on my spine, still does not believe. He's one of those skeptics. He's one of those who considers basically that he considers chiropractic a fraud. So he was not of a mind to lend any credence to what I was telling him. But in fact, the treatments help, and the exercises that I do sometimes to relieve pressure on those vertebrae also help. But some days when the strain has been too great, when I've been doing heavy lifting and other things like I've been doing today, I lose that voice, and there's just nothing I can do about it. And the same has been occurring most of the time on my workshop tour. I get toward the end of the workshop and I can barely speak, which is equally hard on me and the attendees because when I start to get hoarse, I have to shout to be heard, even with a microphone. So I'm not the skeptic that I used to be when it comes to alternative health care methods. And I now know what the issue is. I now know that the nerves that govern the operation of the vocal cords are not transmitting all the signals that they need to. I'm not well enough innervated. There's too much inflammation there. Yeah, and there's probably too much stenosis still in the cord in that area. So I do the best I can. Do the best I can at taking care of myself. And do the best I can at being heard here on the program. But it's going to be a chore tonight, I think, to keep my voice until the end. I see we have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters. Hello? Well, we had a call come in, and then it dropped. So we'll see if the call comes in again. I'll try and patch it in one more time. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes folks will try to call in, and for some reason or another, it just doesn't work. But we'll see what happens. If the person tries to call in, I'll definitely patch them in. And if you want to join the conversation, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. Well, as here we go again with the caller. Let me see if I can patch you in this time. Hello and welcome to Character Matters.
Hi, Dr. Simon. I didn't wait long enough.
Oh, well, welcome to the program.
I got your book, and I've read the foreword several times, walking around reading my friends, and I thought, as I read, what an appropriate book that you would choose for me. And I'm headed out camping and for a little reclusion, so I'm taking it and another book along that I might really just really appreciate it and soak it in. I just see such a wonderful message there, and one that's missed so often is people, oh, I've got bipolar, or, this and that, and just pass off their behavior, their lack of character, and as you say, the most important topic is character. That makes us who we are. So as we go through life, and some of us have less character developed or less learning along the ways, but it's not too late to take a look, I think. Most importantly, a lot of people that respond to you and are listening and commenting on your website are a lot of people that I think on the other hand of, rude behavior, inappropriate behavior, and bad behavior from people,
yes,
abusive and so forth. And I think a lot of times people are on the other side, might have some character development problems that might take a little bit of offense, and they're ready. I'm responding to a couple of folks in particular, but ready to throw you there with the whole of the system. And I don't know how many times I've heard you speak on how you have gone in a different direction in these all these prescribed treatment methods and so forth. I've got to commend you. You're addressing the core of the problem. Really, just brings it to the forefront. But we're all with an excuse, right? So. Conditioned by society and the pervasion of, everything. This, sexuality at a young age, and the gangster behavior, and the rewards for the narcissist and the psychopath. That, the more devious you are, then that's how you get further ahead in life. So that's the battle right there. Mainstream or what really flows through the heart.
Yeah. Don't you find, too, that folks have become really desensitized? We seem to just not expect very much anymore. We're so used to this problem and how deep it is that we almost don't expect decency of character in anyone anymore. We're not surprised. We've lost. There's no more shock value. When I witnessed some of the things going on in the political debate, things that would have been considered absolutely outrageous, just simply outrageous 30, 40 years ago, are not a big deal anymore.
Well, if somebody was being considered for the Supreme Court, if they had any question hanging over their head, like, say, Hillary Clinton with the emails and the history of the Clintons, along with the Bushes, I mean, if there's going to be some honesty in politics, they had to run Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton together.
Yeah. Well, this may be the first time in my adult life where I don't cast a vote.
Well, voting for the lesser of the two evils is still evil, and when we've come to the point in our society that we accept one evil that's less, and both of them look pretty evil to me, but that's it's a sad state.
Yeah.
And without each of us discovering for ourselves what is good and right, and working towards that, and not allowing for this, let's remove them one at a time.
So you're going to take some time, and you're going to go off to a place where you can digest this material.
Yes, I'm floating a 10-mile section of the Little Red River off the mountain where I live at here, and be floating into Shirley, Arkansas, and take a week of doing it. And it's my little Tom Sawyer adventure I've always wanted to take.
Well, I'm so glad, and I'm glad you got the book. I know that you'll enjoy it, I that book probably means more to me than anything I've written, because I have seen firsthand two things in my life that I treasure more than anything else in my professional life. I'm talking about my professional life, not my personal life. When it comes to my personal life, I treasure my family more than anything else. But when it comes to my professional life, there's two things that I really have come to value. One is I have really enjoyed the blessing, and I consider it a blessing, of watching people change for the better, watching them grow in character. I like to think that I had something to do with that, but in large measure, it's setting the stage and the right atmosphere for the person to do their own growth. And just witnessing that has been a true joy, and blessing. And the other thing that I've witnessed is I've witnessed the power of genuine faith. And I'm not talking about a particular faith. I'm talking about faith genuinely embraced in the heart, not just preached on the lips. Faith embraced. I've watched that help transform people, make of them better people. And those have been the two great joys of my professional life.
Well, you are doing a fantastic job. I really appreciate the information and the conversation that you bring forth every week. I've been listening to you for, about since you've been here at UCY.TV, and just really, really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks again so much for that book. I'm so going to enjoy it.
You're welcome, and enjoy yourself on your time off, and I hope the book speaks to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Simon.
Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, what a nice call. And if you want to join the conversation, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. The book the caller was referring to that I sent out was the Judas Syndrome. And, this is something that was really kind of shocking to me in a way. When I go on my workshops, because it's primarily, as I've said, my training is primarily targeted to professionals this year. That's the kind of workshop I'm doing. Because of that, I never expected I say we got a caller coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take this call. You're welcome. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters. On your time off.
Hi, Dr. Simon. Thank you so much for answering my call.
You're welcome.
My name is Lala. It's a moniker I'm going to use, and I just wanted to thank you so much for your work and your dedication to continue sharing your message and staying available for those that need support. I wanted to just, if you don't mind, go through a little bit of my story and then ask the question.
Okay.
So I found out about you at the beginning of 2015 because I have a corporate background and I was looking for, how do you tell when someone's lying on you? And I found your work and I got your books and I started reading your books. And I was in a relationship at that time. And I showed him the books because I wanted him to, at that time I just thought, I just want you to speak better to me and talk nicer to me. And I showed him the books and he was like, oh, yes, I can. This was something that he agreed with you on your stuff. And then I got a client that had a domestic violence webpage. And I started going through the webpage and doing my work on there. And I came across the list of all of the different kinds of abuses, the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the sexual abuse. And I highlighted everything that was happening in my relationship. And that was like 98%, everything except for like being punched in the face, things that were where I had set the standard of abuse. But I had also been in a cult before that, and that's how I had met him. And so I guess what you would call this, my codependency was very trained. I was very, very trained. So I showed him this paper, and we went through the list, and actually it escalated, and it got worse. And there came an incident when he tried to force himself on me, and I had thought that if I don't get away this time, that I won't think about it again. And so I did get away, and it took me it's going to be about a year in a few days, but it took me almost a year to not want to go back. It was just so difficult dealing with the aftermath of a lot of those things since I had just made the split and went no contact a lot from your influence. And thank you so much. I wanted to thank you for that and your support. But in that time, someone was helping me, a lady was helping me, and then she hired me because I was 6 months without a place to live. I was homeless and I had no job. I just took whatever I could with me, and she helped me. And then she started to, as I became successful, she started to exhibit the same kind of treatment. And she actually got to a point where she told me, like, she was intimidated by my success and that she wasn't going to stand around and watch me become successful. And so she had me fired. And
wow, she was that overt about it?
Oh yeah, because she was just like, and she just went to the CEO and had me fired, like, on that spot, because I had done something. I had done something that was really gaining traction in my career. This gave me time. I thought maybe I should just, like, take a month and spend some time with my family, because I hadn't been, especially since my partner, keeps you isolated and everything. So I started spending some time with my family and realized how much my sister's father of her children was a narcissist. And so we were trying to get her away, and she spent a month away from him, and then had to have a surgery because he had given her an STD that was untreated for a while, that wasn't properly treated and turned into the pelvic inflammatory disease, and that caused her to have ectopic pregnancy. And so they had to have an emergency surgery. Now, so she was almost free, almost going to get away, and now she's back there, and he's not allowing, like, she has things to be done to her to take care of her. And he is, like, not allowing us to do some of those basic things. He wants to do them, but he can't do them because he just doesn't like giving her stuff to eat when the times that she needs to take her medicine, like just certain things, because she's bedridden for 2 months from the surgery and the complications. She almost died twice during the surgery. Had to have a blood transfusion, like. So, and now he's not helping, not allowing us to help, and causing a lot of mistrust between the children and us, like me and my mom. I mean by us, because we're the ones that would be helping. So so this leads me to my question now,
okay,
which is, like, I just want to separate, I just want to separate them, and
you want to separate who?
My sister and the father of her children, and my sister and her children from the father of the children.
Yeah, okay.
They have been together for 15 years, and they have 3 children.
Yeah.
So there's much more complicated situation than mine.
Of course, you don't have power there, and
no.
And really,
I just felt like I did have a little, because she was starting to see, like, the stuff that I showed her from you, and she was starting to see that.
And there's a boundary issue there too, right? Because this is her relationship. Now, you can be of support. You can be a source of information. You can be a source of illumination. You can even be a good role model. But to actually insert yourself into someone else's situation and take responsibility for either holding a relationship together or breaking it apart, this is really a pretty serious boundary issue. Are you sure you want to go there? Because my sense is that there's no good outcome for that.
Okay, because I guess I'm just tunnel visioned about how much better I am now, even though it was very hard during the whole year of after separation. But how much better I am now, I want. To get that healing.
Yeah. So you along the way, you have picked up some knowledge, some awareness, some skills, that you can be a better support, you can be a better role model, you can be better in the way of encouraging than you could have before because you're in a better place now. You're a better person now. But you really don't have the power, nor is it your responsibility or your right, frankly, basically to be the catalyst for either holding a relationship together or driving a wedge and driving it apart. That's really not territory for you to be in. But you have this wealth of experience. You have this growing that you've done yourself that's put you in a better place. And so now you're better prepared to give the kind of support your sister might need and to give the kind of guidance that she might need. And beyond that, you don't really have any power.
So I just kind of have to stay away as long as he's requesting it?
Well, I'm not sure that you necessarily, I mean, is he preventing all contact of any kind?
Yeah, he doesn't want us to come to the house at all. So.
Well, he doesn't want you to come to the house, but is that restricting any kind of conduct? Any kind of contact, excuse me?
We can still talk to her on the phone.
Yeah.
It was our concern of some of the, healing things or some of the treatment that she needs, like medication and stuff like that.
Sure.
While she's recovering.
Yeah. So you can still be of support. You can still be encouraging. You can still share all that you have learned. You can model what you have learned, and within proper limits and boundaries. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Now, if you should learn, however, that she is being truly, seriously abused or neglected to the point where her health is in jeopardy, then that's another story.
Well, yeah, this is where we're at because she has to eat and so forth. And after she got out of the hospital and I went back with her, feeding her and making sure she had everything. One day I went and I took the kids all around or whatever, and I just asked him to feed her, at this and this time, and it was like 4:30 in the afternoon before she got fed. So this is why I worry.
Yeah. And so, staying in contact with on the phone and staying in contact in other ways and assessing that might be well worth your while. And if you do get some concrete evidence that severe abuse or neglect is going on, then you have an issue with him and with the authorities. And you're well within your right to take some action there.
So my mom's point of view is that if I do that, then there might ensue consequences and separation, but that she is not ready for that mentally she's not ready for that kind of separation, and then that would cause more problems.
Yeah, well, a lot of times we anticipate outcomes, and we let anticipations of the outcomes govern our actions. And what we need to have govern our actions is what we truly know to be the correct course. Now, that doesn't mean what we think or what we imagine. It means what we truly know. So in other words, when we have hardcore evidence of severe, and I'm talking about severe, I'm not talking about just, our opinion. I'm talking about legitimate, severe, absolutely objective abuse or neglect, where somebody's very life is on the line. When that happens, we have an obligation to act. And we don't act in consideration of the outcome. We act because it's the right thing to do.
Okay, yeah, because that was my question about her, what to take that of her, her feelings into consideration with that.
Yeah.
I don't want her mad at me, but that what is best for her health is kind of my
Yeah, but
hopefully,
you need
right?
to be careful of the boundaries here unless we're talking about a truly objective and severe case of abuse or neglect.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me about it.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really appreciate it. It helps with making that more clear.
Yeah. Well, good luck with what sounds like a difficult situation, and give yourself some credit for all the growing and learning that you apparently have done in the last several years.
Well, thank you so much for all of the work that you've done so that I could have found it.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Validation means a lot. Thanks. Bye-bye. Well, what a nice call. I was, before the call came in, I was about to say that the surprise of my life has been in doing these workshops and fully well expecting to sell out of all the books that I bring that are on psychology topics. So I expect fully well my character disturbance book and my In Sheep's Clothing book to sell out by the time I leave my last venue. I always expected to have a few copies of How Did We End Up Here, which is meant more for relationship partners, and especially my book, The Judas Syndrome. I always expect to have a few of those copies to take home. Well, in the last couple of venues, the book to sell out the first has been The Judas Syndrome. And the book to sell out the second has been How Did We End Up Here? It's amazing. Now, I've actually sold out of all the books on every tour. Never bought any home. But it is a remarkable thing to me that even when my primary audience is professionals, that my book meant for the Christian faith community, The Judas Syndrome, would be so sought after. This is very edifying for me. And it tells me that people are hungry. It tells me that people are very, very aware of this character crisis that we've been in, and that people are hungry. They're hungry for guidance. Psychological guidance, yes. Emotional guidance, yes. But more than that, spiritual guidance. They're hungry for it. They're looking for a message that will resonate with them and that will help them put into practice a faith that can truly save. And that's really been the most edifying thing. So, in this next round of workshops, I'll be taking twice the number of Judas Syndrome books and How Did We End Up Here books with me to each venue, along with Character Disturbance and In Sheep's Clothing. And I'll also be passing on to the attendees that they can tune in every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern for Character Matters, where we talk about this phenomenon of our age. And I'll be mentioning my blog at manipulative-people.com and also at counseling resource with 2 L's, .com. And I thank you for tuning in and for your interest in my work in this program. And I invite you to tune in again next week for another edition of Character Matters. I'll see you then. And this is Dr. George Simon wishing you a wonderful good evening. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you next week.